Hello guys, and welcome back to episode 5 of my educational series for Ragnarok, Pro Tips for Ragnarock VoT. As usual, hello, my name is Cave, or Cavelad. I'm one of the top Ragnarok players for VoT, with over 100 hours now. To clarify really quickly for anyone who is confused of what I mean by VoT, VoT is the non-VR version of Ragnarok, which is played on gamepad or keyboard. Quickly before we get into the actual guide, I'd just like to mention that I play on controller and I use 6-key mode to play, the official mode, whatever you want to call it. So this guide won't be going over anything to do with 1-key 1 drum mode or keyboard because I don't use them. And because I don't use them, I feel like I shouldn't be giving any suggestions or tips, because there's probably, you probably know more than I do, because I really have very little time on either. So, okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to the actual guide. Okay, so moving on now to 4 of the main mechanics in Ragnarock VoT. The first one being accuracy and consistency, and the second one being FC or full combo and readability. Accuracy and consistency explanation. Accuracy, or perfect notes, are the perfect hit time window when the rune passes over the drum. The window for a perfect hit is 30 milliseconds, 15 milliseconds before and 15 milliseconds after the correct time window. And consistency is just the ability to hit consistent perfect notes. How to train accuracy and consistency. The best way myself and other players have found to train accuracy and consistency is by playing the lower level songs. I'd recommend any song from level 2 up to level 5. The reason I suggest levels 2 to 5 is because they are slow enough so you don't have to worry about much else, so you can really focus on accuracy and your consistency. Full comboing and the readability explanation. A full combo, or FC, is the term used to describe hitting every note during a song without missing. And readability is the ability to read notes of patterns that are coming towards you. How to train full combo and readability. The way I recommend to train both of these, and I really can't stress enough, is through the practice mode. Going into level 6 songs and upward, whatever level you may be struggling with, to read or full combo it. The absolute best way to do it is going into the practice mode on whatever song or particular pattern you were having problems with, and slowing down the playback speed to 80% and slowly working your way back up to 100%. This also goes for readability. Missing notes is not just because you miss with your hands, but you're also not reading the notes correctly. While you are using the practice mode, you should also be trying to correctly read the notes. Of course, that is made a lot easier with turning down the playback speed. Next up is 2 big settings that are very impactful in Ragnarok, and that is rune speed and latency. Rune speed explanation. So rune speed, or note jump speed, as it is called in other rhythm games, is a visual modifier for notes or runes as they're called in Ragnarok. The simplest way to explain it is the lower your rune speed, the slower the notes will be, and the smaller the gap between the notes will be themselves. And the higher your rune speed, of course, means how much faster the notes will be, and the bigger the space between them will be. My recommendation for rune speed is 20 or higher, ideally between 25 and 30, if you're comfortable with rhythm games or whatever input you're using. You might not be, or you might be only starting to play Ragnarok or rhythm games in general, and that's completely fine. You can still use the default rune speed for a little bit until you get comfortable, but I will say, as soon as you are comfortable, try and move up to 20, and of course in between 25 or 30. Alright, so moving on to latency then. Latency explanation. Latency is the time it takes data to travel from your game to your device or devices. So if we take audio latency for example, audio latency is the time delay between the sound happening in game traveling to your audio device, that could be your headphones or speakers, for example. How to set up latency in Ragnarok. So in Ragnarock now, it's a lot easier to find your latency with the in-game calibration. In the calibration setting, you can find or get close to your audio, visual, and input latency. After you finish calibrating, you should play a few songs to try to refine your latency even further. I'd say playing lower level songs is the most accurate way to do it. But I'd also like to clarify, the reason I don't suggest narrowing down or refining your latency on the higher difficulty songs is because you're only trying to find your latency and not what feels comfortable to play. So now we're going to move over to the in-game settings to have a look at the other settings that I want to go over. Alright everyone, now that we're in game, let's have a look at some of the settings. So of course, as I said previously, I just play mostly on default. I'll explain why I have both triggers or combos set to the one trigger, and that's simply because of the way I hold the controller. I was accidentally activating my combo prematurely when it was bind to the left trigger, so I actually had to remove it. So that's the only reason I have anything any different from default here. Otherwise, it's completely normal, and it's personal preference, whatever you might be using. For both, I think I can say for both inputs, gamepad or control keyboard, excuse me, is I don't think there's any keybinds that give you a significant advantage. I think most of you probably know this already, but I'd just like to say it anyways. I don't believe there's any certain keybinds that give you a big advantage over, you know, anything else. At least not that I've seen or noticed. I don't think so. So you can kind of just do whatever feels most comfortable for you. Audio, it's, you know, whatever you need your audio to be. So okay, let's go over graphics. So graphics are, you know, the in-game graphics itself. I have everything set to high. This is personal preference as well because I have a stronger PC, so I have no problem keeping up with the 120 FPS limit. But I would like to talk about a little bit the lightning VFX. So this is the effects that are on the, you know, the hammers, the bow, the shields when you know, hit perfects, get your combo up with the blue and gold lightning. I have mine set to 0.5. So 0.5 for me was a nice middle ground because obviously it's enough still that you can see or tell the difference between perfects and non-perfects fairly easily, and you can still visually see you have a gold boost or blue boost, you know, ready to activate. But it's also turned down enough I'm not getting blinded by all the effects going on. I can still, you know, it doesn't affect my readability or anything like that anymore. So 0.5 was just a nice place for me, and I'd obviously recommend it for anyone else as well. If you were unaware, like I was until very recently, that this was actually even a setting. But yeah, about halfway is pretty good for me. Might be for you too. You just have to mess around with it and see what works for you. Alright, so to advanced. First one being drum sound compensation, of course. If this just makes the audio more accurate, if you ever turn on down to 0. Sending custom songs cores, of course, to Ragnarock Customs. If you were looking for randomly, just didn't know where one key one drum mode was or how to activate it, here it is. Leaderboard filters. So currently for both filters, I should say, we have 3 options. So we have all platforms with my gameplay, and only my platform. So all platforms being, you know, fully open, crossplay, whatever you want to call it. All platforms with my gameplay being every platform that plays on the same input as I do, or that game mode, I should say, I do, and only my platform. Now, I do want to say for the moment, or not for the moment, as it is at the moment, I should say, these have really no difference because there is only one version of the game, and one key, one drum players can't play with, you know, official mode players or 6 key mode players because of, you know, restrictions. So this really makes no difference. Whatever one you want to have it on. The only one that does make a difference is all platforms. So you will see VR player scores on the leaderboards with this setting turned on to all platforms, but you know, most of us are not masochists, so we like to, you know, say with our own on only our platform, or as I do like to do, as all platforms with my gameplay, just in case there's like some weird reason why like Steam Deck or something doesn't show. I shouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just in case is what I have it set to that. Okay, so then multiplayer filter is basically the same thing. I have it set to all platforms because I have personally no issue playing with in multiplayer public lobbies against any other platform. I have no issues with it, so I've set to all platforms. But of course, you have the options to refine it down if you do have any issues or problems or anything like that with other platforms. So next is the hammer animation. So, little backstory to this. I have it set to 0.5, which is kind of strange considering I'm a person that likes as much LOS as possible. But during the alpha testing for the game, we didn't have the option to mess around with the hammer animation. So it was always just, you know, permanently automatically set to 1 or 100%. So we had the full swing the whole time for months. I just kind of got used to it and kind of liked how it was. My only issue was with the LOS, of course. But after it's changing it back, like, you can turn it down to 0, so there's no animation at all, or 1 or 2. The animation is very, very slight. But I actually kind of like 0.5 because you still get kind of a swing, which feels more natural, I suppose. It's very robotic if you turn it down any lower than that. But then, of course, it's a nice halfway mark as well, so I still get back a lot of the LOS, but I still don't feel that robotic while playing. It feels more natural, I suppose. Of course, controller type is Xbox. Controller vibration, so this is kind of like the VFX. I can explain it the same way. You kind of like to have a little bit of feedback, but not much. Just enough is the way I like to explain it, so I have it again on 0.5. It's enough that I can still feel it, but not enough where it's distracting me. As someone that does get distracted very easily. You know, it's just, I like it just a little bit, just to keep me on my toes, I suppose. Alright. So now let's move on to the VoT settings. Okay, so on the VoT, we have the practice mode, which I talked about previously in the video. Practice mode is where you can go over the song playback speed, so you can turn it down for readability training or full combo training. You can also turn it up past 100% to 120% if you want to practice your speed, I suppose. It's something. It's not as important, so that's why I'm not going or talking about it. But yeah, I'll just mention it here. It's good for practicing speed if you want to learn or get better at fast hands or fast drumming. You have your start time, which is if you want to practice a certain pattern or part of a song, you can skip to it here and then just press start and it'll go to that point of the song. You have your quick action button, so you can quickly, you know, take away 30 seconds or add 30 seconds or 10 seconds either way as well, which is really nice. We also have the ghosts, so we have personal best, which is the most accurate ghost because it gives you a meter reading to your personal best score, which is just over the clock, as you can see on the left side of the screen. You have the top 1 ghost, which is obviously the best score of your platform we're choosing in the leaderboard options. Rank 10 above me is, as it says, is 10 ranks above you on the leaderboard. Rank 5 is the same again, rank 5 ranks ahead of you. And then, of course, you have your friends top 1, which is whoever is on your friends list with the best score will show up there. And then friends above me is whoever has a score better than yours on your friends list. But for me personally, I just use personal best most of the time. If someone has a very good score in a song for VoT, I'll usually put on song top 1, but most of the time I just keep it on personal best. Okay, so the actual settings now on the VoT settings, I mean. So we have mirrored runes, as this is kind of, a lot of these are very self-explanatory, like, especially these two are very self-explanatory, but I'll go over them nonetheless. So mirrored runes just flips the runes the other way, so if you are struggling to read notes on the right side of the drums, you can flip them over to the left side of the drums if it's easier. Display beat lines just turns on the beat lines for the song. There's not really much else to say there. Custom rune speed, so this is the rune speed I was currently talking about previously as well. You might be in a setting like this where it's like turned off for no. You just want to turn that on. If you have it turned off on no, it'll turn down to 12, which is, I believe, I could be really wrong, but from what I remember, it's 12. It's been a long time. But yeah, if you're very new, as I said before, if you're very new, you can keep it on 12 for a little bit until you get better or more comfortable in the game. And then as soon as you can, try to bump it up to at least 20. And then from there, when you're comfortable on 20 and more comfortable with the difficult songs as well, you can switch it up to 25 to 30. Anywhere between there is really good. And that's what a lot of the players who've been playing for a long time use. I myself use 30 if you care, because I have no problem with the speed, and it also gives you the biggest advantage because, as I said before as well, the higher your rune speed, the bigger the space between the notes is. So it helps, of course, for readability. You have rune color, which is, you know, whatever you want. There's a few different colors in there. I just use blue, so why not? Surtur hammers I use because they are the one of the smallest hammers in the game, which you can see there to the left of the settings. I use those because they give these, because they're so small, they give a very low LOS or problem or LOS. A lot of the competitive players use them for the same reason. And then, you know, you have your boat or whatever. That's, you know, whatever you want to use there. You have the map, so you can change your map in here. A lot of the cool ones I have in the game. I just use Dark Empty for 2 reasons. First main reason being I find it easier to read the notes. And second reason being it's, you know, there's not much in the map itself, so it doesn't really eat away at FPS or anything like that. Compared to, you know, something like the Sabaton map where there's a lot of assets on that map, which, you know, are very resource draining. So I usually use Dark Empty. And then of course you have the camera setting for the last one. I think I just have this, I think it's default settings. I don't think I've ever messed around with this. The reason I just left it as it is was because it reminds me more of your FOV would be on VR. So I just left it. That's perfect for me since most of my time played on this game has actually been on VR. So I had no issues with it at all. You have a lot of customization with it though. Like you can pretty much move this camera to whatever the hell you want. So if you have coming from like a top-down rhythm game, you can set the camera up like that if you wish. So yeah, that's really all kind of have to say about that. Alright guys. Okay everyone, that's the end of the video, or the guide. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all at least found this video or guide somewhat useful. But just before I go everyone, I'd like to say what I plan to do next. So next for me is actually starting to do a coaching series for Ragnarock. So plan is just me going way more in depth onto patterns or songs that have been, like in general, that people find difficult, and I explain how to play them and how to understand them, kind of like, you know, sort of stuff like that. And of course I'll be taking requests if there's any patterns or songs people would like me to go over specifically. Just let me know in my Discord or the comments in this video, like wherever you can find me. But yeah, alright guys, again thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.